Cool. Right, I shall get started so that we can make sure that we cover everything. If everybody just wants to mute themselves, or I can mute you, then, oh, wait a minute, I've got a couple more people coming in. Oh, I think there's a couple of people struggling to join. Okay, cool. So hopefully that should be everybody in. Yeah, no, that's fine, Deborah. Yeah, I'll record it and I'll send it out. It should be tomorrow. So by the time it's downloaded and everything else, I should be able to send it all out tomorrow. And if you do have to leave, but you have questions, just pop them in the chat. And then I'll be able to answer them. So even if you don't get a chance to ask them, then you can answer them. Sorry, you can ask them and I'll answer them later on so that you still have everything there. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so is everybody muted just so we don't have any of that background? I just muted you, Christina. All right, I'm going to change this view because for some reason it hasn't got me on speaker view, so I'll just have it like this. Okay, cool. So nice to have you all here. Thank you for joining me. As some of you will know, I've been investing in Bitcoin and other currencies probably for over 3 years now. So I started investing before. I'll just mute. I'm just going to mute. There we go. So yeah, I started investing in 2017. So it was before we had the big hike that went on in 2017, and then we had a big crash. So I started investing in there. And then I kind of stopped for about a year after that big crash. And then I've been investing properly again since 2019. And obviously, there's been a huge amount of stuff going on in the market, and it's gaining a lot of momentum just now. It's getting a lot of attention in the media again. And we've got some really big name financial institutions and stuff coming into this space. So what I thought I'd do is I'll chat for about 30-40 minutes. I'll try and keep an eye on the time because I can keep going. So I'll try not to just keep. So I'll chat for about 30-40 minutes and then open it up. And so if there's any questions, so if you've got questions, write them down as we go along, and then we can cover them. I'll leave a half hour or whatever if we need to answer any questions. So do just jot anything down with you if I don't cover it in the thing. So what I thought I'd do is I start off with kind of explaining a little bit about what Bitcoin is, why it was started, when it started, and its kind of journey. And we've kind of got two things going on here. We've got Bitcoin as a currency, and we've got a number of other currencies as well, which are part of this crypto space. But we've also got the technology, so the blockchain technology. And all of the different projects and applications and everything that are being built on this blockchain technology. So there's kind of two quite separate but interlinked things going on. So I'll start off with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, as you probably know, is a currency. It is a digital currency, so there is nothing concrete. There's no paper or anything like that. It's a digital currency. It was created in 2008. Now it was, there'd been a number of people who tried to create a digital currency before then, but it never taken off. They didn't have the technology set up, and it just, it never came to anything. But there was a kind of, this, as often happens with these amazing kind of, zooms in evolution, everything was just perfect. So we had the GFC, we had the financial crash in 2008, and we really then saw the fragility of the banking system and the financial system as it is now, what's called the fiat currencies. So our dollars, our pounds, our euros, whatever. And we started to see the fragility of it. And we saw how much manipulation was going on. We saw how much control was going on. We saw how much that it was really out of our control that banks were doing really whatever they wanted. They were selling, they were lending money, they were doing all sorts of, really illegal practices. And then when it all came falling down, the governments had to step in and use taxpayers' money to bail out a lot of them. And so we really saw, and obviously, some countries were worse hit. Australia wasn't, so bad, but, places like Ireland, Italy, Greece, America, a lot of places were really, really badly hit by this GFC and by banks collapsing. We had runs on banks. And it really was that catalyst for saying, okay, we need to, we need something else. And so this is where Bitcoin came in. And so it was first, I think, registered in 2008, and then 2009 was really when it came into being. And so Bitcoin is it, like I said, it's a digital currency that is built on blockchain. Now, one of the things about Bitcoin is that there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. And this is the thing that gives it its value, is its rarity, basically. I mean, we've got I think I heard this statistic, there's about maybe 126 million millionaires in the world, which means that there's not enough Bitcoin even just to have the millionaires have one Bitcoin. Like, it's a very rare commodity. But what this means is it can hold its value. The problem with the financial system as we have now is that, and as we've seen in 2008 and now, we've got quantitative easing, which is basically the government just printing money out of thin air. It is based on nothing. They're just printing it to keep this bubble going, to keep it looking like the stock market is fine, the housing market is fine, that there's cash available. There's not. They're printing it out of money. If anybody else did this, it would be counterfeit and they'd be put in jail for for decades. But governments are doing it, just to keep this bubble going. And so at some point, it doesn't take it really too much brains to see that bubble has to burst at some point. Because what's happening is we're continually devaluing the dollar. When we're quantitative easing, when we're printing money, what we have in our hand is constantly being devalued, because there's just more and more and more of it being printed. And we've obviously got no interest rates at the moment. So our money is really worth, I think they said, when you really take it into consideration, the amount of deflation that's happening is about 10% per year. So what was, that's cool, Jen. If you have any questions, just write them down, yeah? This is being devalued all of the time. And so they said, deflation is sitting at about 10% at the moment per year. So what was your $100 becomes $90 by the end of the year. So that's it's a huge drop in value of our buying power, basically. So Bitcoin was there to create a new financial way, and it's a peer-to-peer system. So what it means is that we're not reliant on a third party. We're not reliant on a bank or an institution to be able to do transactions. So at the moment, we have, if I want to send money to you, Christina, I have to go to my bank and say, okay, this is my bank account. You're holding my money. I'd like you to send that to Christina, and then Christina can say, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to take that money out of my bank. So we were reliant on the bank. And this is a third party. What Bitcoin is all about is peer-to-peer, so person to person. So I can directly send my money to Christina without anybody else having a say in it. It's just like, here you go. This is my money. It's like handing somebody some cash. There you go. And so this is what it's built, is to come into a decentralized system. And the whole of blockchain is about decentralization. So taking out this hierarchy, taking out these third parties that control so much of our lives at the moment. We have to rely on these third parties, that they're honest, that they're going to look after our stuff, that they're going to do what we ask them to do. There has to be, that they're not going to take it all and make loads of money and then leave us with nothing. We are creating this platform that is peer-to-peer, decentralized, that is controlled but not controlled, but it is monitored as well. And this is what the blockchain is, and this is why it's so incredible, is because every transaction is verified around the world by different computers. And so there isn't one central place, which then obviously then means that things like hacking and control and everything else becomes very, very difficult, because it's being verified. There's millions of computers that are part of this verification process. And so even if a couple of them get taken out for whatever reason, there is still thousands of others around the world that are continually verifying this ledger, so that every transaction is actually trackable. So you can say, okay, I can see that that was there, this was there. It becomes a very transparent setup, so which again is all about honesty. And really being able to see what's going on, instead of the system that we have now, which there's so much covert stuff going on behind the scenes which we just cannot see. And anybody can look into the blockchain and see, and this is why you have things like Elon Musk, buying 1.5 million Bitcoin 2 weeks ago. People can just see, all right, okay, there we go, there's a purchase going on. Okay, what's going on? And so we can see what's happening on the blockchain, and it keeps it transparent. And this is the other thing which obviously hasn't been happening in our financial system for the last very, very long time. So we have Bitcoin. So this is the currency, one of the currencies. There's many different currencies on the blockchain. Bitcoin is like the grandfather. It's the first one. It was started in 2008, as I said, and it is slowly been growing in popularity. It started, I think the first transaction in Bitcoin was 2 pizzas ordered for 10,000 Bitcoin or something like that. So you can imagine, I bet is like how much that would be worth now. We've got one Bitcoin sitting at about 45, 50 US dollars, 50,000 US dollars at the moment. So it's a very expensive pizza. But that was the first transaction, and so it's slowly grown in popularity. And as it's grown, as more people have been adopting it, then it's grown in value as well. And it's gone through various different periods of time where there was a real underground movement that we're utilizing, and it wasn't really on a kind of, it's slowly getting mainstream now, but it was very underground for a while, and then more retail, especially from about 2015. A lot more kind of people were coming in and using it legitimately. We had the spike in 2017, which was all retail people. And this is what has been, it was all people like you and me just going, wow, okay, I want a part of this. And that was what the rush was in 2017, was all of the, like I said, and there was a lot of, 50, 60-year-olds all coming in and going, okay, I'm really interested in this. I can see the potential of this. What was missing then, and this is what has changed, is that there was no institutions. The institutions hadn't paid attention. And so the retail were rushing in, and yet the institutions they had no way of getting into it. And so what happened is, after the crash happened, the institutions over the last 2 years have been rushing to build their what's called on-ramps. So for their ability to get on, to bring their clients in and to really become a part of it, because they suddenly see actually there is a huge demand for this and there's a huge value in this. This is, if we talk big picture, for me, what I love about it is that it's moving towards unity consciousness. Do you know, it's moving towards where, instead of hierarchy, instead of control, we're looking at peer-to-peer transactions. It's moving towards self-responsibility, because the thing with Bitcoin is that you hold it. It's up to you to look after your own money and what you do with it. It's not saying, okay, here you go, bank, and you can invest in that, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But the setup is that you hold it. It is your responsibility. So for me, that is empowerment. your self-responsibility is such a big thing for us, all of us. We need to be taking responsibility for ourselves, in all aspects of our life. So if this is a way of empowering us, but it gives us choice, it gives us freedom, it gives us that ability to say, well, this is what I want to do with my money. We're seeing more and more these measures being put in about, they were trying to put in the $10,000 cash limit so that you couldn't do it, you couldn't use cash for transactions over $10,000 in Australia. I can't remember if they actually got it through or not, but we're seeing a lot more limits being put on what we can do with our cash. And so this takes all of that away. And people don't profit from our money. Our money is our money to look after, and we then do what we want with it. And there's not a third party going, well, here's all my money, I'm going to lend it out to everybody else, charge them loads of interest, and then and so they're making money off our savings. And I think at the moment the banks only need to hold about 3% of what they actually is saved in there. So if I went and said, okay, I want to withdraw all of my money, or if everybody went and said, I want 10% of my money, all the banks would go under. They don't hold it. They just don't hold it. They only hold about 3%. I think it dropped down. It was 10%, and I think it dropped down to 3% of our actual holdings that they have to hold. So it's not there. And so this is what I love about it, is it's really bringing us into that space of self-responsibility, of empowerment, of looking after our own money, of being able to interact how we want in a way that, like I said, doesn't rely on the third party. So that's really what Bitcoin is. It's because it's the grandfather, it's going to hold the value of money. It isn't going to be a coin that we use on a day-to-day basis. Okay, Bitcoin isn't going to, because actually the technology that it's built on as the grandfather is too slow. So it takes so long to have so many verifications that they can only do about 10 to 15 transactions per second. And obviously, if we were to use it day to day for buying our coffees and everything else, then the system can't handle it. And so we've got other currencies that are being developed and being utilized. So things like Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, XRP. There's various different ones which are going to serve as that day to day coin that we use. Bitcoin is going to be it's going to be like gold. Do you know? It's just like, okay, this is where I hold my money as a value, and this is the other, Bitcoin Cash or whatever the other currency is that's what I'm going to use on my day-to-day basis, because the technology that's built on is like a separate ledger, and so the transactions are a lot faster, and they can do, they're building it up and up and up each time they're developing, but it's getting to the thousands per second that we need, because obviously if you look at PayPal and MasterCard and Visa, and they do thousands upon thousands of transactions per second. So that's the level that we're needing for this technology, and Bitcoin just will never do that. So Bitcoin, if you're investing in Bitcoin, it's very much about the value of Bitcoin. Whereas using it as a financial tool, you would be then looking at other currencies to look at. And because we're still very early in the market, even though we've had a big rush over the last 3-4 months, we're still very early. We're still, we haven't got to that place where it is being regularly used. And so we've got a lot more companies and stuff really starting to utilize it, but the main currency hasn't kind of popped out, if you know what I mean, and said, this is the one that we're going to be using. So we've got 2 or 3 that are kind of sitting there and being developed, and really making sure that they're kind of at the top of the game. And as this is as this is being adopted more and more, then we're going to see one currency probably pop out more than the others, which will be used on a day-to-day basis. So that kind of gives you a little bit about the history of it. It's come from this space of really seeing what the system is at the moment and that need for something new. It's been developed And what happened in the last 2 years, as I said, we've had all of the big institutions coming in. They saw that the demand was there, and they're like, okay, we actually need to get in on this. We can see that this is that people are wanting to start to look at this. We need a way to invite our clients in and to be able to be part of the part of the party. And so they've been building their on-ramps. So people like Grayscale, BlackRock, all the big financial institutions are now building they've built them. They're all in place now, which is why we're seeing this flood of money coming in, because they're starting to talk about, well, actually, maybe you should have 1%, 5% of your investment portfolio in cryptocurrencies. And they're all starting to bring that as a possibility for their clients. So they're really, from a currency point of view, you're really starting to come on board. And that's, like I said, that's why we're having this big rush of money coming in over this last few months. And that's just going to get bigger and bigger, because these are the big boys. And then we've got all of the other ones which you go, oh, okay, actually, right, we need to come in on here too, because if they're offering it, we need to offer it. And so it just starts to, to come down. And, you've got, like I said, Elon Musk. He's I'm not quite sure what he's doing with the market, to be honest, because he realizes the amount of power he has, and he is playing little games at the moment, as to just naming coins and just watching what happens in the market. So he's such a big player that he does hold a lot of clout. But yeah, Apple, like I said, PayPal already in, MasterCard are building their stuff. All of the big players are really coming in. And then what I wanted to touch on is the technology, and this is also a really exciting part. So we've got the currencies, which are starting to be developed and starting to be utilized. So again, Elon Musk is saying you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, and we've got a lot of, there's been people for the last 2-3 years who've been just living off of cryptocurrency and using it to buy their all of their supplies and everything. So it is being used. It's still not, like I said, we're still early adopter stage, but it's getting more and more likely that people are offering. Said, will you accept Bitcoin? Will you accept, whatever as a currency? So we've got that, and then what we've got underneath that, or kind of beside it, is the technology. So blockchain technology, there is so much being built on it. It is really a revolution. This is like internet it was 20-25 years ago, when it took 20 minutes to load up your email front page. That's where we're at with the technology. It is that revolution. We at that point could never have known how our lives would have changed by internet within this last 20-25 years. And that's what we're at with blockchain. It is literally revolutionizing everything. It's revolutionizing, like, even things like buying a house. The guy I follow, or one of the guys, he was saying that to buy a house will literally take something like 9 minutes instead of the 6-8 weeks that it takes just now, because everything will be on the blockchain. It'll just be like, okay, here's the piece of paper, here's your money transfer, 9 minutes done, house bought, off you go. Like, it literally is revolutionizing video streaming. It's revolutionizing the financial system. It's revolutionizing even things like solar power. There's an amazing project where you can do peer-to-peer solar. So if you've got too much solar, you can transfer it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else, not through a grid, not through the electricity company, but peer-to-peer. So it literally has this ability to revolutionize so many aspects of our life. And I personally don't, I don't fully get it. I don't fully see the whole potential of it. But when you listen to other people who really understand and see the vision of it, it's just, like I say, it's just mind-blowing, the amount of change. And the amazing thing is that at this time, we have the opportunity to invest in those technologies. And that's the other thing that is within this space, is this ability to invest in these technologies. So some of them are at a product stage already. Excuse me. So they're already a product that is serving a purpose. Some of them are in idea stage and some of them are in development stage. But it's literally like, it's like investing in .com or HTTP, do you know, like the foundational stones of internet. We can invest in those and play a part. And what I love about that, not only is it an opportunity to make money, but it's also about putting our energy, putting our intention towards what it is that we want to move forward into, this decentralized space, which is, like I said, is unity consciousness being expressed through technology. And so when we put our energy into it and when we put our intention and everything else into it, it helps that to grow. And so there are these amazing projects which are really there to change the way we do things and to really bring this forward. And we have the opportunity to invest in them at this early stage. So there's a huge amount of potential in that too. And that's what I love about it, is that, we have this opportunity to really kind of to help this along and to bring this forward. So that's the two kind of sectors, there's the currency sector and then the technology sector. And there's hundreds and thousands of projects. And so you're really finding the ones that are of interest. We've still got, things like Cardano. You might have heard it in the year, I think Elon Musk again was talking about, I think it was Cardano. Yeah, it was Cardano he was talking about recently. But we've got these, Cardano, Polkadot, Cosmos. These are, again, foundational pieces of the new technology. Ethereum, you've probably heard of Ethereum, which is the second biggest cryptocurrency. That is, that's really, that's the technology side of it. So that's not a currency that you would use on a day-to-day basis. That's a technology one. And that, again, was kind of like the grandfather technology. We're about to see the launch of Ethereum 2.0 because, again, it was too slow. And so they've been developing it over the last few years to bring this upgraded and make it a lot faster. But in the meantime, we've got other projects like Polkadot, Cardano, these who have kind of seen the flaws of Ethereum and have been building on top of it. So they're almost like the third generation already coming through. And the speed of it and everything else is quite phenomenal. But and then what happens is apps then get built on top of that. So it's like the building blocks, and then apps can then get built on top of them. So it's it's like having a phone and you put your apps on top. It's like that. So these are, like I said, foundational pieces that that are being developed that we can invest in and really bring forward. So yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to do this was because I see that, so many of our systems, so much of what is here just now is really starting to falter. These are systems that have been here for so long and have been manipulated and utilized in ways which, we've got such a split between haves and have not. We've got this 1% of elites, who hold vast amounts of, and they, if they spread that out, the world would really be okay, but they don't. So this can't, it's not sustainable. What we have just now is not sustainable in the way that it is. It is reaching that stretching point where it just has to collapse. And the amount of money and everything with and COVID has obviously really sped this up, because of what's happening to all of the economies around the world, because of the lockdowns and everything else. We're really speeding up this process because we've got this whole kind of middle class section just getting taken out because all of the small businesses and everything else are just not able to operate. And a lot of, especially the UK, US, obviously Victoria here is being really hard hit with that. And so we're just seeing this kind of faltering that's going to happen. And so for me, it's just like, okay, well, so what's coming next? And that was what drew me. And it's really interesting. I'm not really a money person. I've never been interested really in money, but the minute I saw Bitcoin, it just sparked something in me. I could feel the potential of it, and I could really feel the, as you know, I'm very intuitive, and for me, it was just like, yeah, this is it. This is something I didn't question it. I didn't doubt it. Like, this is what I need to be doing. And my husband was like, I've never done stocks and shares or anything like this, but this is my baby. Like, this is, I do all of this. So there's something in me that was just like, yeah, this for me. And it is for me a very, very intuitive space. And I think that's the other thing, that it's, I don't know what it is about it, why it's so intuitive, but for me, it was an absolute yes. This is what I need to be investing in, and where I need to be putting my energy and time. And even now, I don't trade. It's not what I do. I don't have the time or the inclination. So I'm very much about just accumulating to then utilize at a later date at the moment. But again, what I invest in is a very intuitive thing. And I think a lot of people who are in this space, certainly not everybody, but there is a lot of people who are being pulled in from an intuitive point of view, who wouldn't normally be kind of paying much attention, but there's something about it, there's something magnetic about it, which is pulling people and going, do you know what, actually there is something in this for me. And it's not just about making money, like, yes, that's part of it for sure, but that's not what I got pulled into. I got pulled into the energy of it. I got pulled into the consciousness of it, what it is here to provide us. And that was what pulled me in. And I think a lot of people are also really feeling that, and just looking at the people who signed up, they're people who I would rate, are intuitive, and it's just like, and it's mainly women as well. Sorry, Aaron, I know you're there, but it is mainly women who are responding, which again is it's quite unusual for a money thing, but it seems to be speaking to those people. I know there's a conscious crypto circle that I'm part of, and that is so intuitive. It's very much based on this big picture perspective of seeing unity consciousness coming forward, and how that's going to be expressed, and really wanting to build and move towards a new way of being. We know that this is falling. We know that it's it doesn't serve us anymore, and so we have to be putting our time, our money, our energy into this new way to birth this new way. And this is, I don't see crypto, or I don't see Bitcoin as the end game. Like, to be honest, some people do. I don't. I see it as a bridge. I see it as a bridge, and I don't know what's coming after this. But I see it for the next, certainly, 2, 3, 4 years is going to be this bridge as we start to, kind of move from one system. We'll have crypto as the bridge, and then, the technology will still be there, but as a currency, I'd say something else will start to evolve. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen anything that's kind of gone, there it is. But that intuitively that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm feeling. Excuse me. So, we have to cross the bridge. We have to cross the bridge from the old to the new. And especially if we want to maintain our buying power. And I think this is the thing. I think if you don't go on the bridge, you'll still get to the other side, but you might have had to swim. And I think this is probably what's happening, because we can see that because the divide's getting bigger, because the pressure on the fiat currencies and the economies is just gonna, it's gonna explode. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and there's no two ways to say it. We can't get out of this without tough. But if we can then be a little bit forward thinking and say, okay, well, how can I bridge that? How can I do something differently? Get out of the system that's failing and start to work towards the new system. And that's what I see it's doing. So that's, for me, is why it really speaks so loudly, and especially when we can see so much happening on the external now as well. It's not just an energetic thing. So I guess the other thing I wanted to touch on is, some people say, oh, is it too late to get in? It's had a massive spike. Bitcoin's now at 50,000. It was only sitting at 10,000 or whatever. And we're sitting, your market cap, so the total amount that's in cryptocurrency at the moment, is, we had a drop on Tuesday. So we had about 20% drop on Tuesday, which is actually a good thing. Because it had gone so high so quickly, we kind of need that consolidation space. So this is still a very volatile space, and you kind of have to work with it and work through your nervous system and work through your FOMO and work through, oh my God, I'm losing all my money. So it's a very good opportunity for healing, this as well, because it brings up a lot of emotion. But I do see it as, and if you know that, okay, I'm looking at a 3, 4, 5 year period, and I'm just slowly investing little bits. And this is what I always recommend, is you just, okay, I'm going to invest $100 this week, and I'm going to invest $100 next week, and I'm going to, and then, oh, it's rising too much, I'm going to wait. And then, okay, it's dropped a little bit. Actually, I'm going to do another $100. So it's kind of doing, instead of going into FOMO and go, oh my God, it's going high, quick, I better buy. It's like, no, just let it go, because it will always come into this consolidation period. So it's, there's a lot of psychology in this space as well. And in the course that I've put together, a small video course to help people to get involved and to set up their wallets and exchanges and all the internet security and stuff. And I've done a video on the psychology of investing, because I think that's really important, because it does bring a lot up for us. But yeah, this consolidation period. So we have had a huge rise, and then we've dropped 20% or so. I saw, I think just before I came on, I just had another check of it, and it kind of dropped, it leveled out, started to go up, and it's dropped a little bit again. That's fine. It's kind of like this consolidation period, and then once that settles, well, then it'll start heading up again. But we're still, the market cap, so the total market cap is about 1.4 trillion now. So that's jumped massively. I'm just going to get somebody just coming into the room. That's jumped massively over the last 5-6 months. So it was sitting at about 300-500 million for a while. But it's jumped up to 1.4 trillion. But if you look at, say, the gold market sits at about 9 trillion. And obviously the stock market is far, far, far bigger than that. That's all US dollars. So there's still a massive, massive amount of money to come into this space. So even though we have had a big rise, it's definitely not too late. There's still a lot of money to come in. And like I said, the big players have got themselves set up. They're now starting to encourage their clients to come in. And then all of the smaller, financial institutions and stuff will start doing the same. So yeah, it's certainly not too late. We're still, it's not early adopters, but we're kind of the last stages of early adopters, and it's becoming more mainstream. So we're starting to head into the mainstream market just now. But like I said, certainly from from all of them, from the currency and from the technology, there's still a huge potential. And if you look at any of the videos on YouTube, who talk about Bitcoin and currencies, they're talking about Bitcoin hitting 100K by the end of this year. They're talking about it hitting 500K. Some people even talk about 1 million, because of the scarcity of it. And this is the key, because there will never ever be more than, and I don't think we'll ever get to 21 million, because there's been lots of people who've lost their Bitcoin, and once it's gone, it's gone. So that's just because they've lost their keys, they've lost their security codes. So I don't think we'll ever get to the 21 million, but there is a finite amount, and that's the thing that keeps its value, is because of this finite amount. And so, yeah, it's, there's still a lot of potential. It's certainly not it's not too late to come into the market at all. We're going to see a lot more people, I'd say, coming in towards the end of this year and next, as it becomes more mainstream, and as we start to see this faltering, and we're going to start to see the stock market and everything else starting to falter. And we're already seeing there's games being played in the stock market with things like GameStop and stuff like that, where we're seeing how the big players have been manipulating the market to undersell everybody else. And then actually, and it's a good thing, I think, is because normal people are going up against them and saying, actually, no, we're not going to, and so they're seeing this. And so we're going to start seeing a lot of more of that, I would say, in the coming months as well. So we're going to see faltering happening. So, I mean, there's many different ways of investing now. The way that Bitcoin and this was set up was really to be, like I said at the start, it's self-responsibility. So to hold it all yourself and to then do with it as you wish. Because we're coming into a slightly more mainstream market, there is there's some companies who are now offering to hold it for you, so you can start to say, I'd like to hold Bitcoin in my pension fund and stuff like that. So there are opportunities for that now, and they're going to start doing EFTs. This is starting to get into financial jargon, which I don't really understand, but so that you can buy it in your brokerage account. So just as you would do in your stock, your stocks and shares, you can do, you'll be starting, they haven't started it yet, but it's in the pipeline. So you can just go to your brokerage account and just buy it, but you don't hold it. For me, I'm a bit of a purist, or I am a purist, and I see that what this is about self-responsibility. So for me, it's all about, I invest it and I hold it myself. I take responsibility for it. It does mean that I have to make sure I don't lose my passkeys, because if I lose it, I've lost it, So there is, it is about that and understanding the system. But once you understand it, then you have responsibility for it. Nobody else can do anything. It's the same if you're investing in another company and who are there holding it, you're going against what it's there for. You're going back into the third party where you're trusting somebody else. And so for me, it's just that goes against what the whole thing is about. So for me, it's about you invest it yourself, you hold it yourself, and you do with it as you wish. So yeah, so that's the other thing that's starting to come out now as well, and I just want to touch on this, is pyramid systems, or I mean, they don't call it pyramid systems, but there are a lot of pyramid systems out there where they say, invest $300 and then you'll get $500 back, and but please do invite some more people in, and you're like, okay, the minute that the business model relies on you inviting other people into the system, it is then really classed as a pyramid system, because if you don't, and there is, I'm saying this because I just want you to be aware that there's a lot of these platforms being built and being advertised and being, and they make a lot of money, don't get me wrong, they do make a lot of money, but they are reliant on bringing other people in. And when the interest wanes, or if the market crashes, or if something happens, then they still hold your money, the system collapses and you're left with nothing. And so this is again why I just, be cautious about any system where you're investing in a different platform that is investing the money for you, and encouraging you and giving you profits or incentives to bring other people into the market, because that is it. Especially in the financial market, I think you have to be wary of it. I know in 2017 there was quite a number of them, and they all just completely collapsed when the crash happened then. So it's a tricky one, and I just asking you to be aware of it. When you're looking at, if you want to invest, is how are you going to do it, and if it's something that's going to keep your money safe. So like I said, I'm very much about you hold it yourself, and look at what you want to do with it, and take responsibility for it. And as I said, I've put together a video course that details that. So I've done a set of my videos keep increasing because I think, that would be really interesting. Normal me, but it's step-by-step process of setting up your internet security, because that's really important, is making sure your internet is safe, and then setting up your exchange, which is where you pay your fiat money into, so your dollars into, and you buy, that's your only third-party section. You can do peer-to-peer, but it's the exchange rates are a lot higher. But so you have your peer-to-peer, your exchange where you're paying your fiat money in, and then you buy your cryptocurrency. Then you transfer it into a wallet. You have a hot wallet, which is an online wallet, and then you can transfer it into an offline wallet, which is called a cold wallet. And then that is pure. I mean, both of the hot wallets and cold wallets are purely in your holding, and you hold the passkeys and everything else to that. And so that's what the video course does, is just set up how do you do this, all the process, work your way through it. And I've got a community. It's lovely because I've got a community on a Facebook group, so people can come in and just ask any questions. Oh, I've got a bit stuck on this, and I can just pop in and answer questions, and I do live calls and stuff. So it's really, it's worked really well, and it's a really nice way to just go, okay, actually I do want to do this, and talk your way through it. It is based mainly on the Australian market, because obviously that's where I am. But the only part that isn't international is the exchange, because I use an Australian exchange, but the setup for exchanges are pretty much the same world over. It's just a different website that you go on. So I've set that up, and so if anybody's interested, then you can I can put the link down the bottom. I can send you it. You can just send me a message and I can send you that. So I think that was the main thing. I'm just checking my list to make sure that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Has anybody, I had a couple of questions, but I'll maybe just ask you guys, because you're here, if you've got any questions, because I've kind of, cool, because I've kind of, I realized that. So that's good. I'm glad you got questions. So we'll answer the questions, cool. And then I've got a couple that have come through on email and stuff, that people who weren't able to make it live. So Vanessa, let me unmute you down, and or can you, oh, there we go. Yep, yeah, cool. How are you? You good?
I'm good, and thank you so much.
I hope that makes some sense.
I'm sure the others, I'm like, where do we even begin with this?
It is big.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much. I have been interested for a little while, but it's always been presented in a way that has just turned me off, and it's just, like you said in your email, it is overwhelming at times. So I have a few questions, and I hope this also helps other people too. So first of all, the very fact that it's going mainstream and that it's attracting the financial institutions and the big players makes me go, there's a part of me that goes, well, if all the folk in the third dimensional world are hopping into this space, then maybe I don't want to be there. Like the very fact that it's going mainstream isn't a plus point for me.
Yeah.
Can you address that? Do you know what I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I think I'm sitting and feeling into it.
Yeah, thanks.
Rather than kind of trying to come from my logical head. What I'm sensing is that we're never going to get whole adoption, like where everybody just moves over. We're just not going to get that. We're going to get the people, the people who are, like you say, coming from an intuitive space, and there's people who are coming from a monetary space. The thing that and that's interesting, because I hadn't felt into that before. I think this is where we're going to start we're not ever going to get to the point where we have the elite and the really rich, and then the rest of us, and then it goes to completely equal. Like it can't happen in one jump. And so what I think is happening is this stepping stone, and I think that's what's kind of here now, is that because this is the first time that we've actually had retail people coming in before the big institutions, which is what's changed it. We've got people like you and me who have come in before the institutions, and so who are already set up, already in place before the money comes in. And the thing with the institutions and why the blockchain is so good is they can't manipulate it as much as they can the stock exchange. Do you know, there's not the same mechanisms in this, you know, in the stock exchange. They've developed all of this shorting and all this sort of stuff, you know, to manipulate the markets, and so that they're the ones who really, you know, the small players will never win in the stock market, because, you know, the big players are just manipulating it. Because we're coming in before that's happening, we're already in that space, and because of the technology and the blockchain stuff, it doesn't have that same potential.
Yeah, I get that.
So does that make sense?
Yeah. I suppose, I guess, I like the whole, I absolutely see that it's about decentralization, and it's moving towards that unity consciousness where you don't have that hierarchy, and I get that. I guess I'm curious why, if it's anchored in that with that intention, why would people like Elon Musk and PayPal and MasterCard, why would they be drawn into this space if it's all about a decentralized? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, well, because some of them, so PayPal have actually made a centralized version of it. So they have bought Bitcoin, and if you use, so you can use Bitcoin within PayPal, but you can't bring it out of PayPal.
Oh, okay.
So they've created a closed circuit. I mean, PayPal is kind of a closed circuit, but you know, so they encourage you to keep money in your PayPal account, and you just move it right out. With Bitcoin, if you use Bitcoin in PayPal, you can't pull Bitcoin out into your own wallet. You know, so you can't bring it into your own personal possession. It's a closed circuit. So you can use Bitcoin only to somebody else who's using PayPal. Does that make sense? So they've kind of taken that and made it their own little centralized thing. So I would never use PayPal and, you know, and Bitcoin. Just no, I'm not going to use that. And this is where we have to be discerning about what we are investing in and how we're utilizing it. So yes, they can see the potential of it, but it doesn't mean that those of us who are seeing things from a bigger picture perspective need to then utilize it. And so, yeah, so certainly with PayPal, I wouldn't, it's a closed circuit. And so it's not going to, it kind of takes it out of it. You know, they're using it because they can see that it's popular, and that as a business, if they don't, they're losing out on a massive market. But they've, you know, and a lot of them, and you'll see this, is that, I mean, Facebook tried to do it a couple of years ago with Libra. So they started to try and do the Libra coin, and they've renamed it into something else. I can't remember what it is now. They had to do a relaunch because it just got absolutely, you know, slated. And also the government's just said no, because it was so centralized. So we're going to see centralized currencies coming in, and the central banks are going to bring in their own currencies, and the governments are going to, do you mean, so we have to be, we have to look and say, okay, is this decentralized or is this not? And make sure that what we are going into is the decentralized version. Because like I said, you know, we're going to start to see governments and federal banks, or, you know, paying in digital currency. We're going to see that in the very near future. So instead of paying into your normal bank account, they're going to create a digital wallet. I think it's probably already on here. Wallet is already on here. They're going to start sending a digital currency to you. Unfortunately, that will be completely trackable, completely manipulated. So if they say, okay, I've sent you this money, but actually you can only spend it on this, 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 and this. Yeah. And so they can block it. So this is, I mean, oh, hi, Deborah. Okay, have you got a question? I'll have a look at that in a second, but thank you for joining me, and I hope that's been helpful.
So that's related to the cashless society thing. This is very different to what we're talking about here, right? Exactly. That digital society is completely centralized.
Exactly.
and controlled.
Yes.
This is different, isn't it? And that's
Yes.
probably why, because I kept merging the two in my
Yeah.
head. I was merging Bitcoin.
What they're trying to do and what Bitcoin is doing is completely
Different.
separate.
Okay.
Although they're both digital currencies, they have completely different mechanisms. Like you say, one is going to be completely trackable and manipulated and controlled, and then the other one can't be.
So in a way, Bitcoin does sort of want a cashless society, but not for the same reasons, right?
Yes, yeah, only because that's a natural progression, and because the system that we have now, I think we'll go back to some form of solid currency at some point. But that's a bit further down the line, whether we go back to shells and maybe that's where we need to go, do you know, and I'll give you one shell for a cow or something. But you know, until we get to that point. But you know, it's a time of digital, you know, it's the digital age, you know, we can't, you know, even our normal banking, although, you know, people kind of pretend that it's not, it's still digital banking. We don't hold the cash. I mean, who carries cash around with us? Do you know, like the kids had Monday Munchies yesterday, and I had to order it yesterday, and I had no cash. Do you know, I had to raid the kids' piggy banks, you know, because I just don't carry it. And I'd love to have a cash society. Do you know, like I like that, but it's not where we're going. And as much as that's my ideal, I can't hold on to that onto my ideal if that's not where we're going. Do you know, it's as much as I'll be sad to see it go, it's yeah, I think we'll come back to it. And you know, a friend of mine mentioned this. She was saying your digital currencies are very ungrounded, and she's right, they are, because they're online, they're very ungrounded. And so we will need to move into a grounded currency again. But this is what I said, I don't feel that this is the end game. I feel this is a bridge, and we'll probably have a couple of bridges into the next, to the next, to the next, till we get something that is more solid and more equal and more, you know, everything else. We've got a big process ahead of us over, it won't be my lifetime, you know, but yeah, so yeah, it's very important to separate those two and to see what you're investing in and how it's being utilized. But the thing is, like I said, you know, if you hold it and it's yours, and you know, and I'd really encourage you to do research on the blockchain technology and to see how this changes things. Do you know, the fact that it is, you know, verified in so many different locations, it really changes the ball game. So you know, I think that's
I have two more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You mentioned this in terms of how this looks like day to day, week to week. So for those of us who are not multimillionaires or millionaires or anything like that, you sort of mentioned it, you touched on, you know, I've got $100 here, I'm going to put it, you said, you used the word accumulate. So how do you, is that $100 you're just buying Bitcoin, or are you actually investing in specific projects?
Yeah, so I've got a mixture now, because I've been doing it over the, you know, the last 2-3 years. So I've got a mixture. So I started off with Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum were my two first ones, because they're the two biggest. And then I started to do some more research and started to look at some of the other stuff that was around. And then I joined a conscious crypto circle that was about 18 months ago. Because I don't have the time or the inclination to do all of my own research. And so I follow a guy called Christoph Melchizedek, who is, again, he sees big picture, you know, very spiritual, spiritually aware. And he does a lot of the research into the projects, and then recommends them as he sees. So, you know, so I've then followed a lot of his guidance, and other people's as well, as to what to invest in. And
so your money is held in that.
So I've got I have an Exodus wallet, which is what I call your hot wallet, which is online, and then I have my Trezor, which is a cold wallet, so that's offline, and it's like a USB. I've got it here, but I won't waste my time. And so it holds the majority of my investments, but nobody else can access that. I have the pass keys, And so, yeah, I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I have maybe 15 different ones within that wallet. And then, yeah, and so for some of them, it's like buying stocks and shares. I'm investing in the projects and I'm just holding it because I see the potential in that project. With Bitcoin, again, Bitcoin is one for holding, but things like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or whichever one starts to be utilized more, that will be then when that will be when I do my payments, So I've accepted payments. Not many people are taking me up on it as yet, but I accept payments for my services in cryptocurrencies. And so when we get to that point where that's what I'll be using, as say Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin.
But you don't really make payments day to day with it at the moment.
No, not yet. No.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm just what's called hodling. It's called hold on for dear life. So that's the words. So we're hodling at the moment, and we're just watching the market grow and change and seeing what comes out of it. And obviously, like I said, it's a time for accumulation. So when we're seeing the market dropping a bit, we're accumulating a little bit more and just allowing ourselves to grow. And it's maintaining or growing our buying power. Like I said, deflation, if it's 10% at the moment, I hate to think what it's going to be like when this bubble bursts, but we're losing every year 10% of our buying power, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy that, if just by holding it, it's losing money. And so for me, it's just like, well, if this is going to be an opportunity for me to, either maintain or increase, at the moment of obviously increasing my buying power and what I can, what's available to me, then I'm going to be doing that. Because it just doesn't do anything in the banks just now. We know that. And it seems sensible to be, like I said, putting it towards where we're going instead of just holding on in a system that is failing.
Last point, I am interested in your video course, but I left Facebook 2 years ago. And so I'm just wondering, will the community aspect, will that always be in Facebook, or is there a separate piece to it, or is it mainly just held in Facebook?
It is held in Facebook just now, until I can find another platform that I'm looking
at networks.
What?
Go to Mighty Networks. That's where I've got my community.
Is it okay?
That's where I left. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I need to find. I at the moment I'm still using Facebook because it serves me, but I'm certainly feeling the push to find another platform. So, but at the moment, from the video point of view, I can just send you the link through YouTube. So that's easy. But the community thing is still on Facebook. But certainly, from the videos, they're all on YouTube.
Great.
So that's
all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Does anybody else have any questions? No. Michelle, I know you'd sent one in on email. Okay, so about tax. So I'll just quickly cover that. So tax, the Australian government does have a cryptocurrency tax, whatever you call it. So they do tax you. Of course they tax you. They're never not going to tax you. One thing that we can be certain of. So it is subject to income tax and capital gains tax. Income tax if you are making any sort of, so you can stake, and this goes into a lot more things, but if you stake and you get interest off your coins, then that is subject to income tax. And capital gains tax is for when if you're exchanging. So, because I re-looked at it this morning just to make sure. So if you sell something, so say if I bought 0.5 of a Bitcoin, and then I bought it for $1,000, and then I sold it for $5,000 and bought that back into Australian dollars, then that would be capital gains tax. If I, and this is the other thing, if I bought 0.5 of a Bitcoin and I sold 0.3 of a Bitcoin and exchanged it into Ethereum, or I exchanged it, I didn't sell it, I exchanged it into Ethereum, it would also be subject to capital gains tax. So yes, there is a tax policy. They are starting to because the exchanges where you pay your money, your Australian dollars or whatever into to buy your Bitcoin initially, that is what's called know your client or know your customer, KYC. So you have to put your identity in. You take a picture of your driver's license or whatever it is. So it's a know your customer exchange. There are ones that are peer-to-peer, more anonymous, but you pay a lot more from exchange rates point of view. But most people go through a KYC, but they have I think a legal obligation now to start to say, well, this person has a Bitcoin or an exchange, so so do with that as you wish. But yes, they do have a thing, so it is taxable. But if you're just holding it, and if you hold it for over a year, you get 50% less capital gains tax. And if you don't sell it and you're just hodling, then until I do something with it, then I don't pay anything. So it's only if I exchange it or I sell it that I have to then pay capital gains tax. So that was the one question. The other question was, internet goes down completely, what happens? Well, we lose it all. But that's the same with the banking system and stocks and shares and everything else. Our whole lives are reliant on internet now. I don't think there's really one aspect of our lives that wouldn't collapse if internet goes down. But yes, it would. If it went down permanently and that was the end of that, then yes, we would lose it all. But if internet just goes down, generally then it's absolutely fine. Like I said, we do have an online wallet, which is your hot wallet, and you can log on anywhere because you have your 12-word pass keys, which keeps it very secure. And your offline stuff, like I said, is like a USB, which you then plug in and put in your 12, I think it's 24-word pass key for that one. The thing that you have to be super, super careful about is never losing your 12-word or 24-word pass key. That is the thing that is and so you would recommend you're having one copy, I don't know, in your filing cabinet, one copy in a safe, and one copy at your grandparents' house or with your lawyer or something like that. You just make sure you don't hold it online. Never hold it online. You have it on a piece of paper and you have it in a safe or your lawyer's office or whenever you want it. But that is your key, but this is all about self-responsibility, and that's the whole thing, and empowerment and sovereignty and all of these things, and that means looking after our stuff. So yeah. Here's a simple question: do you find it fun? I do find it fun. Like I say, for me it's really intuitive. I've worked my way through the emotional stuff and so I don't get triggered. I get a bit excited when the market's going up at the moment. I'm like, this is quite good. But I'm not having that kind of like, oh my God, the money's losing. So and initially it can be a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest, from an emotional point of view. But I find it fun, and I'm amazed at the technology and everything else that is coming our way. I just find it such an exciting space. I really, really do. It's really, the potential of it is like I say, I don't even touch half of it, but the potential that's coming through of how it's going to shift and change our society, and I think it's a good thing. I'm all about the new. I'm all about the new at the moment. So if this is a way that we can really start this peer-to-peer process, then I'm all for it. So yeah, I do. I love it. I enjoy it. So, which is why I do this. It's not. This doesn't work for me. It's good. Yeah. Well, let me just have a quick look. Somebody else said. This was Deborah, she had to leave. So she's already investing in Bitcoin, but through a third party at the moment. I'm interested in doing it for myself as well. Could you expand on the wallets, please? I already have a wallet to send and receive Bitcoin, but you mentioned another wallet. Okay, so without knowing what wallet she has, so yeah, you have like I said, we had a hot wallet, which is your online wallet, which is yours. which you send and receive your Bitcoin or whichever token or coin that you have. And it's kind of like for your day-to-day transactions, so like if I'm sending something to somebody, I'll do it out of there. It's your exchange, like I said, the government or anybody can see, okay, Anna Carson, this is Anna Carson's exchange. She's sending it to Exodus. Okay, so Exodus is the hot wallet. So we're probably guessing that it's Anna Carson's hot wallet, although it's not attached, like I haven't had to produce ID for anything, but they can probably say, yeah, but they can't see what goes on in there. So that in itself is private. We can see that this wallet is sending here, 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 and here, and they've sent Bitcoin or whatever here, but they can't see what actually goes on in here, and you can exchange and do all sorts of stuff in here. So this is where you do your normal transactions from your hot wallet. Then there's the other coins where you say, do you know what, this is what I'm not going to utilize, I'm going to put in my safe and I'm going to keep it. So my Bitcoin, my, like, I don't know, say 75% of what I'm doing, it goes into there, and that's just safe. It's held on the USB, and that's offline, and that's called your cold wallet. So you just store it in there. And then if you're wanting to transfer something, then you'd bring it out to put it into your computer. And you can send it from there too, but most of your transactions would come through your hot wallet. So it's like having a wallet in your back pocket and then a safe at home. It's two different things, and you utilize them in two different ways. So yeah, like I said, in the course I talk all through it, and I give you the links for Exodus is free. So you just download it for free. That's probably one of the best wallets because it holds over 100 different coins. So the majority of the ones I use are held in Exodus. There are some which have to have their own wallet just because of the project that they're involved in. But Exodus just does hold most of them. And so, yeah, so in the course, I've listed that, and then other ones that you may be interested in. And then the cold wallet, you have to purchase it. So that's it's like I said, because it's hardware, you purchase that, and you can vary depending on which one you go for, but between 100 and 200 Aussie dollars. And they some of them will interact with your Exodus. So for me, when I log into my Exodus account, it will also show me, because I've linked the two, what's in my Trezor in my cold wallet. It will show me it, so I can just go, okay, I know that's there, but I can't access it until I actually plug the hardware in, if that makes sense. So it's nicely synced, which is why I like the Trezor. Whereas the Trezor and Ledger are the two main cold wallets, but Ledger doesn't link in with Exodus. Do you share in the course when are good times to invest? I usually say, oh, look, the market's dropping, you might want to look at that. What I don't do, yeah, I'll cover that in a minute. What I don't do is tell you what to invest in. So I'm very clear that this is about how to get set up. And if you continue, you can stay in the course, if you want, and I'll just say, oh, look, I did that on Tuesday. Market's dropping if anybody's interested. So I will do that, but I'm not here. Yeah, it's not my job. I know that it's not my job. I haven't done the research myself. I'd just be copying what somebody else is telling me, and that doesn't feel right. So I don't tell you what to invest in. I give you resources, to go off and people that I follow and stuff like that, so you can go off and do your research. But this is very much about step by step how to get involved and make sure it's safe and get you've got yourself ready to go. And I talk you through your first transaction, and then like I said, I've got another section on the on carrying on investing and different resources and stuff to look at to find out what to invest in. Because if you lose the hardware, that's okay, as long as you haven't lost your 24 pass keys. So if I lost it, I'd buy another one, and then I would just type in my own pass keys, and that would bring up my wallet. So yeah, you don't lose it from that point of view. At a time when the energy is quite intense out there.
I'll just unmute and tell you. I pressed enter. I was just going to say, my question is,
yeah,
And I bet someone else is feeling this too. At a time when the energy out there is quite intense and there is a lot to be working through and da 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 da.
Yeah.
Is this, and obviously it's up to each of us to feel into it, but is it, if it is in alignment, is it quite a simple thing if the steps are there, or is it like you really need to have your head screwed on, like it's quite a learning curve? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, it is a bit of a learning curve to start with. But what I hope I've done is made it into very simple. So the videos are kind of 10 minutes, to 15 minutes long. So I've tried to cut it down and go, right, okay, let's deal with internet security today. Right, do that. Okay, right. Now what we'll do is this. Okay, now what we'll do is this. And so I've tried to set it up so that it's not too overwhelming and that you can work at it at your own pace, So if you're like, do you know what? Today is just not a day. Fine. Do you know, like I don't keep sending you emails going, this is today's job. This is today. It's nothing like that. It's just like, okay, today I can't look at a video today. That's fine. Leave it till next week. It's self-paced, so to get yourself set up. I mean, the market, because it's, there's so many projects and stuff like that. And that's why I joined the Christoph's circle, was because I was getting overwhelmed with all the different projects. And I needed somebody who had a similar outlook, who had a similar value set to me, and who saw the bigger picture the same as I did. And I needed him to do that work for me. Because I just didn't, like I said, I've got so much, I've got kids and, blah, blah, blah. I don't have the energy to do that. And so that's why I joined his circle. It's been amazing. It's been so good. I really trust, he's very intuitive. If you go into Gene Keys, he's an anticipator. So Gene Keys, he's an anticipator. So he feels when things are ready to go. He also has people in his team who do all the graphs and everything like that. He's an intuitive. So he goes on his intuition. But he's brought in other people who are graph people and who are tracking it from that point of view. So for me, it's a really solid circle to be part of, and it just takes the overwhelm out of it, that I can just go, okay, what's he recommending? And he's got like a core portfolio, a secondary portfolio, and then discretionary, depending on how much you're investing in. And so you can just stick with the core portfolio and say, okay, I'm just going to do that. For me that's been a lifesaver for me, because I don't have the energy or inclination to dive to
everyone, even for people with little, like if they just with a little bit in the bank, like is this for everyone, or is this really only start when you've got several thousand to begin with?
No, you can 100%, you can start with as little as you want, and especially because the potential is there. You got times 10, times 20, times 100, some are even at times 1,000. Like some of the projects that that is the potential of them. That there's one of them that I bought at 6 cents a year ago. It's now worth $3.76. That's a times 60. That's a good investment. To be it was $500, it's now 30,000. So that's the
I see. If you invested $500 and if you sold 30, it now, it's 30,000.
Yeah, that's the potential of some of these projects. And because they're still at the early stage, that's the potential of it from a purely money making point of view. And he, like I said, he's been really good at picking out sort of it, and because he's got that anticipator energy, he picked it early. So he's a good one to follow. So
thank you.
Pleasure. It's a whole new world. Like it really, really is. It's a whole new world. It can feel really overwhelming. And I guess what I wanted to do was just to break it down, so that you can at least get yourself set up and do your first transactions, buy a little Bitcoin, buy a little Ethereum, and then see where you want to go with it. But I think just that starting point of just saying, okay, how do I even get started? Because that can be the stalling block for so many people. It's just like, I don't even know where to start. And that felt for me was my job, or something that I could offer, is just say, okay, well, I can I can offer that. Do you know, I can set that up. How many videos? I've got like, I've split it down into 10 units, but the first 3 are like the history of Bitcoin, you know, where we're at, the future, you know, like, so it's background information. And then I've got, like I say, your internet security, your exchange, your wallet, and then making your first transaction. So for actually, it's about 5 videos for the actual your step-by-step ones. And no, they're all in the Facebook group, so you can just work your way through it. But like you say, if you're not in Facebook, I can just send you the link in YouTube, and you just work your way through the videos there. Yeah, they're all just sitting in units. You can do a learning module in unit, and you just work through the units, unit 1, unit 2, and they're all about 15-20 minutes, unless I really get rambling. But I try not to. How's everybody doing? Any other questions? No? Cool. I will leave it there. I need to shoot off anyway, because any other questions, anything else, please just drop me a message. There'll be an email coming out, and it'll have the link on the course if you're interested in it. But yeah, if you've got any other questions, then I'm more than happy to, just answer them all. But hopefully that's given you a little bit more of a kind of understanding of what it is, and what the opportunities are, and why I feel it's where we should be heading just now. So I hope that's been helpful, and thank you very much for joining me live. I was going to, I knew lots of people had signed up, but I didn't know how many people were actually going to be here. So it makes it so much better to have smiling faces looking back at me. So thank you. Yeah, I shall, like I say, give us a shout if there's anything else that I don't feel I've explained, and I'm more than happy to just cover that with you. Okay, right. Lots of love to you all. Have a lovely rest of the day. Yes, I'll send the replay by email. I've just got to work out how to attach it to the Acuity thing. Hopefully I can do that. If not, I'll send a separate email. Okay. All right. Lots of love to you all. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.